Reese's Peanut Butter Cups are the greatest, but let me play devil's advocate here. Let's see. So, no, that's a good thing. That's definitely not a problem. Reese's, you did it. You stumped this charming devil.
With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at marines.com.
This episode is brought to you by Hyperice, the leader in advanced warm-up and recovery technology. They have tons of innovative products, like Venom-heated wearables to help soothe sore back muscles, Normatec compression boots to speed up recovery and increase circulation, and Hypervolt massage guns to improve mobility. Loved by athletes like Naomi Osaka and Erling Haaland. Try them yourself. Get 10% off your order with the code MOVE at hyperice.com.
Why take one vacation with the family when you could take all of them? With Royal Caribbean, you don't just go to the beach. You visit a private island and race down the tallest water slide in North America. You don't just go for a road trip. You ATV and zip line through the jungle. You don't just go somewhere new. You rappel down waterfalls and discover ancient temples. Because this isn't just any vacation. This is all the vacations. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
I'm Alex Rodriguez.
And I'm Jason Kelly.
From Bloomberg, this is The Deal. Each week, you'll hear us in conversation with business icons.
This show will explore deal-making across sports, media, and entertainment.
That is a harsh lesson in business.
Sports is not as simple as bringing a bunch of big names together.
I didn't want to do another stomp you out speech.
It opened up so many more doors.
The show is called The Deal.
Listen to The Deal.
Listen to The Deal on Spotify.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the Pens Cast Mailbag. This is part one, beginning on this March the 25th, 2024, here on this holiday week. So we were going to get started here in a second, but first, coming to you from the Pacific Northwest of the United States, the Emerald City, we have Snail. Snail, how was your weekend? How is your Monday? And obviously not great Penguins-wise, but other than that, how are we feeling?
Yeah, not great Penguins-wise. A hell of a game. Really an emotional roller coaster. Aside from, Penguins hockey aside, had a decent weekend. I'm rested. I'm rearing to go. Mondays, it's a typical Seattle day in March, super cold and rainy and drizzly, dark out. But that's all good. Hey, Robbie, I'm curious, do you like the TNT broadcasts?
Yeah, I don't really have a complaint about them. I think I'm not too picky about the broadcast. I think TNT is probably the better of the two, just because it gives me less chance of having to listen to John Butchergross for 2.5 hours.
Oh God.
But no, I have no real qualms. I've kind of grown on Kenny Albert, and I generally like what the TNT crew brings in general.
Oh yeah, I agree. I didn't know how I would feel about it. I thought it could only be good to have, we want hockey to grow. We want, when what was it NBCSN? Was that the old?
Yeah, NBCSN was what was right before they switched over to the ESPN/TNT. Yes.
Right. So when they made that switch, I was only hoping they'd do right by it and it wouldn't be some half-assed attempt at kind of revamping hockey or whatever. And I gotta say, I love those TNT broadcasts, especially when they're covering the Penguins. Sometimes it's a little bit tough because the Penguins don't seem to always do the best when they're on the national broadcasts like that. But I love Army. I love what do they call him now? Ace, the Ace Biz. Paul Bissonnette's on there sometimes.
Yeah.
Army. They used to have Henrik Lundqvist on there from time to time.
Yeah, he's on there. Liam McHugh is like the
Liam McHugh,
main studio guy. He came over from
NBC, right?
NBC, yeah. Lundqvist is on there. I think Anson Carter's on there.
Anson, Ace. Yeah. They call him Ace now, but Anson Carter.
Anson Carter's a very big part of that crew as well. Yeah, they had the Stanley Cup final last year. I believe it switches back to ESPN this year. But no, I mean, overall, I do like what the TNT team puts out there.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I wanted to bring that up on here because I heard Army talking on the panel for TNT. Sid apparently seems to just have a hell of a game, win or lose, when they're on TNT. And I never really noticed that. But when he was breaking it down, looking back, yeah, he seems to really. I think his last 4-point game was also on a TNT broadcast. Anyways, just a little bit of food for thought I wanted to bring up and touch on. I'm a huge fan of it, and so they're not doing the Stanley Cup final this year.
I believe it switches back. I think it's every other year through the length of this contract.
Oh God! So they're going back to Ray Ferraro and
I forget who even did the fine. It might have been Sean McDonough, who I do enjoy on the ESPN side, but I definitely prefer the TNT broadcasts over the ESPN broadcasts.
Ray Ferraro, he's usually the guy down between the benches giving his color commentary during the whole game. Are you familiar with him?
I'm familiar with Ray. Yep.
Are you a fan of him?
Yeah, I do like Ray. I think he played the game. Yeah. But he also understands the modern NHL. I definitely I do like his input during the broadcasts.
Yep, I would agree. Yeah. Anyways, all right, let's get to some questions here. We got a pretty hefty mailbag again this week. I think we got 33-ish questions on there. So it looks like today we'll be trying to get through about 15 of them. And the first question, like usual, it will go Robbie and then me, and then we'll switch off reading. Garrett's not with us, as you can see. He's not with us today, so we'll switch off reading his answers. Let's get to question 1, coming from longtime friend of the show, one of our biggest supporters, and that is Brian. And Brian says here, one thing fans of all of Pittsburgh sports teams want the most is for the Pirates to be good. And yes, I'd do anything to watch one more game at Mellon Civic Arena again. As per our last mailbag, we talked about a little bit of nostalgia. We were talking arenas, we were talking ballparks. Brian continues here with the upper deck structures literally shook when it got loud. It was an atmosphere like no other. Robbie, thoughts?
Yes, starting with the Civic / Mellon Arena part of that statement, absolutely agree. The building was, again, it was designed as an opera house. It was designed for sound. It was a very unique building that way. It was old. It was definitely rickety, and it definitely shook when that building was rocking, especially in the upper decks held together by steel beams and rivets. So very, very loud building, a very raucous building. And when you really like the upper decks, like it was basically like a 90-degree angle. It was very steep. It was very hard walking. But it did give you kind of the arcing over the ice kind of feel, and definitely just became like a wall of sound coming out of those upper decks. It was just, such great acoustics, and that building definitely rocked. You could actually, from the upper deck, you could actually touch the roof, which was always really funny as well. But very steep, an incredible building though, and obviously it was time for a new barn, but it just you had to be there to experience it. And one thing I definitely missed, despite all the downsides of the old building. And as for the Pirates thing, absolutely. Again, when the Pirates were good for that short stretch in the mid to early 2010s, the city was buzzing like no other. I would give literally anything for a Pirates World Series. It's the one thing that's kind of missing from my own mantle of my favorite sports teams winning titles. But fingers crossed, hope springs anew every year, but we're always let down. But fingers crossed that can change. But yeah, if the Pirates would ever get consistently good and compete for championships, the city would be buzzing literally all the time. It would be incredible all through the summer. And I really love that feeling back as a Pittsburgh fan. Question number 2 from Brian. Konstantin Koltsov, a former Penguins player and first-round pick, recently passed away. Brian said he's one of his favorite players from his childhood. He might still be the fastest player I've ever seen play. He's the original 71 in Pittsburgh. Just a sad loss. Any memories of him?
Yeah, rest in peace to Konstantin Koltsov. Robbie, I'm sure you have some memories of him. He's one of those players that kind of he bridged between the Lemieux era and then the Sid era. I think his last year with the Penguins was Sid's rookie year.
Yeah.
In 05 and 06. He played. He actually didn't really play in the NHL all that long. I think he played 3 seasons all with Pittsburgh, a couple of stints with the AHL, the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. Yeah, he spent most of his time actually, it looks like, in the KHL in Russia. I'm pulling up his hockey DB right now. The original number 71. He was drafted first round pick, drafted 18th overall. I don't really want to. I'm not going to say any slights or anything like that. But his numbers, he never played a playoff game for the Penguins, unfortunately. And do you remember why he went back to Russia? Was he not offered a contract after the 05-06 season, or?
Yeah, I think it was something like that. Again, the Penguins were in a transition between eras during his most of his time in Pittsburgh. He did play with both Mario and Crosby. He was kind of one of those bridge players between the two eras. Was one of the fastest skaters I've ever seen. Hands made of cinder blocks, could not finish. He was kind of a early aughts Carl Hagelin, I do believe Hagelin had a little bit better finishing ability than Koltsov did. He just could not finish. His speed was just mind-blowingly fast, especially for that era of hockey when there was still more clutch and grab and interference. You couldn't interfere with him because he'd just blow by you. Unfortunately, just never had the playmaking ability to stick at the NHL level. If he would have had the hands, he would have been a kind of I'm not saying he would have put up points like McDavid, but having that skill set would have been unbelievable for those Penguins teams. But
maybe like a Michael Grabner.
Yeah. If he could have scored a little bit more, just hands of cinder blocks, and but had rockets attached to his skates. So, very unfortunate, very sad that he is passed, because he was kind of that bridge player for that era of Penguins hockey. And we hope that he is resting in peace. It's unfortunate. And never a standout player, but definitely a bridge player for those years in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, definitely, probably very well remembered because he was there for Lemieux's the end of Lemieux's career and then the beginning of Sid's. Yeah, scored 12 goals, 26 assists for that'd be 35 points as a Penguin. The original 71 high draft pick, and he went on to have he played for a really long time over in Russia. Played in some playoff games over there, some important games. And in his career, he actually played up until 2015-16 with Minsk Dynamo. So I don't really have any memories of him. I remember him. I'd see 71 in Sid's rookie year. But no slight on the guy. Just, at that age, there's not a ton of memory. It's not until I got older that you more appreciate some of the guys that were kind of hanging around in those pre-Sid years and the early Sid years. But yeah, rest in peace to a Belarusian legend and Konstantin Koltsov. And with that, we will move on to question number 3. This would be going to our beloved co-host Garrett, but he is absent. So I'll take this one, and then Robbie will take the next one. Brian says here, the good goalie play that has been mostly consistent all season seems to have fallen off. If we got the play we have the last few weeks, we'd definitely be in contention for, we'd be jacking for Macklin, he says.
Yeah, he's really on that train. He's doing stuff. I mean, he's gonna have plenty of time to jack for Macklin here at the end of the season. If you guys haven't heard or haven't missed a couple episodes, our dear leader will be turning former leader here in a couple weeks. Garrett has decided, because of his work schedule and just overall busyness outside of the podcast, he is going to be taking a step back from running the ship, and it will be myself and Snail taking on the bulk of the work. And again, if we are as always looking for additional hands to help us out. So once everything becomes kind of finalized and we start moving to that next phase of the podcast, we will be posting stuff on Twitter and have our email open that you guys can reach out if you're interested in joining us and maybe joining the Penscast network, having the opportunity to run your own podcast with us.
Bit of a rebuild for us.
Bit of a rebuild, yes, kind of like the Penguins.
A
retool. We'll call it a retool. Snell and I will sit down, decide how the shows will look going forward, and if somebody wants to come in and bring in their own podcast, a chance to earn some extra money, we'll discuss that at a later time. But
send resumes to Robbie. Yes. No feet pics.
No feet pics, please. No feet pics. Okay. So Garrett, at the end of the season, we'll be moving on. We'll have more on that as that becomes finalized. But just a little note there for anybody who may have missed it in the past couple episodes.
And with that, Garrett's response here, he's been so kind as to write into us what he would be saying to his allotted questions. He says here, the goalie play was the last domino shielding an otherwise incredibly flawed, unimpressive team. There's still room to board the train. All aboard, we're jacking for Macklin. I cringe when I hear that, but it's catching on though.
I guess. I mean, if it works, then I'll never complain again, but it's definitely creepy. Yes.
So, Robbie, where are we at with the goalie play? We saw...
Not good.
Not good. Again, one of the strong points of the Penguins season all year has just... The wheels have fallen off, it looks like, a bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know who's number one or who's backup now. They gave Jarry a bit of an extended look within the last couple of weeks, and I don't know. He can't stop much. And Nedeljkovic... the goalies can only do so much when the team. That game in Colorado, we'll have a game recap about that coming out here soon to cover that more. But the team kind of fell apart and crumbled in front of these guys. They both got time in the net, and it wasn't because Ned got pulled because of concussion spotter.
Yeah,
they pulled him out for that. Jarry let in a goal. We know how the story went with that one, but the team in front of them just defensively is not super sound.
It's a mess everywhere.
It is. So it just looks like the boys are getting tired. It's getting down to the end here, and there's a lot of pressure. And at the same time, I think the boys are burnt. The goaltending, super strong point of the season. We were praising Dubas maybe a month ago about how this re-signing Jarry to that contract and then bringing in Ned on like a $1 million or whatever dollar deal was probably one of his more underrated signings in the way that they were helping keep this team afloat at times. But it just isn't. It's not working. They're tired. It looks like. All right, Robbie, question number 4 for you coming from Brian. Again, he asks here, how do you think some of the legends of the past stats would look like if they had the technology of today? Do you think the gear or the recovery would be more beneficial to their performance?
I think everything we've seen with studies and stuff, the recovery is vitally important. Obviously, they didn't have all your hyperbaric chambers and all these other kinds of treatments that they could utilize back in even the early 2000s. I mean, a lot of this stuff is new. You're seeing players play longer than they ever have. Would Mario's back have been able to be treated better now than back then? He probably would have taken less of a beating with how the game was called today. It's really something. Now, again, with that, though, comes better goaltending. The goaltending is better than ever. I think that I don't want to say necessarily their stats would be much better. I mean, Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux put up a lot of points. But again, a lot of the goaltending back then was subpar compared to today's goaltending. The game is faster now. Maybe your greats would excel more than they did back then, but with everything at their disposal now, it would be almost like giving them a cheat code if they would choose to use those methods. Again, Mario famously did not always take care of his body the best. He was a smoker, the bad back, the cancer. You do wonder what having today's recovery methods would do to him and playing in a modern NHL. I think he would post up still historic numbers. But again, the goaltending is much better, and you just kind of it's kind of all hypothetical when we talk about that.
Imagine you give, instead of Mario hacking darts back then, you give him a cold tub and you give him a Zyn, a 6 milligram Zyn, and watch him fly. He'd be
give
unreal.
him a 6 milligram Zyn, an edible, and just let him
cold plunge in a sauna. And instead of Wayne Gretzky eating like 4 hot dogs and a Coca-Cola in between each period, you give him some AG1 athletic greens and some body armor, replenishing drink. You never know, man.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, question number 5, still from Brian here. Did you like what you saw out of Jack St. Ivany in his NHL debut against Dallas? Brian said he was just glad not to see Graves.
Really glad not to see Graves. But let's talk about this Jack St. Ivany. This kid's from LA, I think. I think this kid is from Los Angeles.
It's a very LA name.
It is, isn't it? I looked at his Instagram when he made his debut. That kid looks like he's living the life out there in Southern California. But I believe he played for Boston, one of the Boston colleges, if not Boston College itself. He's a stay-at-home defenseman. He's kind of got this is their words, not mine. They said it's more of a rugged defensive. It's not like the rugged that he's not like, Gudis out there. But he's a stay-at-home right shot D. I liked his game. He looks like a prick out there, not someone that's going to take dumb penalties. It could happen. He's got to get his legs under him. But I do like what I saw out of his game. And I think that he's someone that could potentially have a future with this team in their retooling. They want to get younger. He's been in the system. Give the guy some leash. I mean, why keep putting Graves out there? I like that Graves wasn't in. Was he healthy scratched or was he?
No, he
injured?
was on paternity leave.
Oh, okay. Well, I like that third pairing of St. Ivany and Ludwig. Don't mind that as a third pairing, and then you're not taking out Carlson or Letang. So P.O. Joseph's had some strong play as of late, and then they got Pedersen, who's a top pairing shutdown left shot D man in the league. So I like what I saw out of St. Ivy. What do you think? What do you think of the young kid out of L.A.?
I mean, again, not super noticeable, which is kind of sometimes what you want from a 6th or 7th defenseman. Again, it's a big step, big moment in your career to make that NHL debut. He's 24; he'll be 25 this summer. You never know when you're going to hit on a guy. I mean, again, they're not trying to find the next Chris Letang here, but he was a 4th-round draft pick. He's played college hockey. He was pretty successful in the college ranks. Played for a big program at BC. a couple years now with the Baby Pens, putting up 15 points this year so far with them down there. And he gets his first taste of NHL action. And, hey, yeah, again, a lot of resetting going to be done this year, and we'll see where things stand with Jack St. Ivany in the summer.
I foresee a Owen Pickering St. Ivany pairing in the future.
I mean, St. Ivany's 6'3".
Isn't Owen like 6'4"?
No, yeah, so they'd be two big dudes on that blue line. So I guess, yeah, you never know.
You never know. All right, where are we at?
Question 6. I'll take this is a Garrett one. I'll take it here. This is from Brian. If Garrett does end up at the first day of Four Chord, I'll be seeing him. It'll be nice to finally meet and hang out a bit. I have no idea why this is in all caps, but I'm going to read this in all caps. One of these days, the hosts are going to get together with these dedicated listeners and talk hockey, food, and everything in between. Is what Garrett says. So that's his words, not mine. The yelling was his, not mine. But yeah, I mean, if we ever do all wind up in the same city, we'll have to do some kind of meetup with some of these guys and have a good old time. It would definitely be nice to put a physical presence to the internet one that we so routinely interact with.
With Garrett's caps and the all caps typing.
He has to speak the entire night in just all caps. Yep.
I just feel like if we all got together, someone's going to end up in a gurney, whether it's the overconsumption or Garrett flying off the handle.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 7 from our good pal from across the pond, Tony Gale. Watching the Penguins versus the Avalanche as I write this. Wow, what a good time that was. And then the first period he says, currently 2-0 Penguins. In all my years of watching sports, I've never been so confused as to why this season has gone the way it has. Can you think of another season like this one, Robbie?
Yeah, last season, actually. The Penguins just aren't a good hockey team. They're just, there's no, people can't, and not to pick on Tony or anything here. A lot of people are like, I don't know how it got like this. They're just not a good hockey team. They're not assembled well. The coaching is bad. It's a bad hockey team. You have 3 or 4 guys that show up every night and ball out, and the rest of the team maybe shows up twice every 10 days. It's just, they're not a good hockey team. There's no real secret. It's not smoke and mirrors or anything like that. They're just not a good hockey team. They're built poorly. A lot of work has to be done this summer again. And again, the joke is, why don't we just trade all of our bad players for their good players? I really wish they kind of tried to do that with Erik Karlsson this summer. And for the most part, that has worked out. They got rid of a lot of bad players for a good player. There's just a lot of still bad players on this hockey team. I don't think they expected Rickard Rakell to regress like he did. Riley Smith to be a no-show for 60% of the season after starting out well. Just bad. It's just bad. They're bad. There's no real mystery to that. It's frustrating. And but we are lucky that we've had everything that preceded this. Again, a lot of teams like the Sabres, this is literally every season. Detroit for almost a decade this was every season. And it was coming to an end at some point. I'm glad that we still get some Crosby. And I'm glad that the thought process is still, let's compete while he's still here, is really what I say to that. Question number 8, jumping back to Brian here for Snail. A lot of noise about Erik Karlsson and his play. What side of the fence do you land on? I think he's been good mostly. Just lack of finishing throughout the lineup has hurt his season totals.
I think that there's a couple things that play into EK65 and I guess his performance. I've been saying this since the rumors were swirling that they were going to bring him in. I don't think Erik Karlsson can share the spotlight as a 1A or 1B right shot defenseman. Him and Letang play a very similar game, and Erik Karlsson is better at playing that game. He's won 3 Norris trophies. Letang is a hell of a player, and he gives his all. He's a warrior. Love Tanger, but They brought in a guy to be second fiddle, and he's the one that does it better. I remember when they brought him in, Sullivan in his press conference said that they were going to find a way to play Erik Karlsson that puts him in his best spot to succeed. And I thought that was a bit of a red flag, where when Karlsson was the captain of the Senators, we all remember 2017, that run where the Penguins met up with the Senators and Erik Karlsson in the Eastern Conference Final that went to Game 7 double overtime. And when the Sharks, he showed up on the Sharks when they were sort of starting their decline. I think they had maybe 1 or maybe 2 years at most where they made the postseason with him.
They were kind of definitely on the backslide.
Burns left for one of those. He had already gone to Carolina. So with that said, Karlsson is, I've called him, he's in the Penguins uniform, he's a Ferrari driving in a cul-de-sac. With the structure that Sully with the way that Sully has this team playing, with the pinching all the time, and Erik Karlsson, you don't have to tell him to pinch or to jump in offensively. That's his game. And you see that I don't think he's super confident sometimes out there, where Karlsson in the past, historically a very confident player. He's head bobbing, he's faking at the blue line, walking the blue line. He's jumping in the rush. Sometimes he's behind the net. He's a complete rover out there. I just think that where the Penguins and Sullivan have him kind of playing, it's not conducive to his game. Typically, I brought this up when he first came over too, and I'll talk about it again quickly here, is Karlsson, the offense goes through Karlsson typically wherever he's played. Like, he's the quarterback. You're finding him again down low, like I said, maybe behind the net or in the slot or something. And on the Penguins, I think fans were optimistic that he's going to be so good because the offense doesn't have to flow through him when you have guys like Sidney Crosby and Jake Gensel and Malkin. But this season you could see it's just every power play has been a mess. He was brought in to make the power play more successful, and it's just been Sullivan is constantly plucking him off the first power play and throwing Letang on it and then throwing him back, and then sometimes both on the same power play unit. It's been a mess. It's been a mishandling of an asset, I believe. And I'm an Erik Karlsson fan. Bringing him in, I think that I hope he sticks around, because I think that in this retool, I love the idea of Erik Karlsson and Sidney Crosby. I'd love to see them in the playoffs again together. That's not, that's out of our hands. We'll see how the off season goes. Erik Karlsson might say check, please. But I don't blame Erik Karlsson for his lack of play. We all know what he brings and what he is capable of. And just the way that the whole Penguins roster in the season has kind of gone, from the power play coach to Sullivan to Dubas, whatever, the underperformances of players, I don't blame Erik Karlsson at all for what's going on with his play. What about you, Robbie? Where are you at with EK, the great Erik Karlsson, and what side of the fence would you land on?
Every kind of metric shows that the finishing with him is just dreadful. Not on him, his teammates. He is setting up the chances. He's creating chances at an elite rate. The finishing has just been absolutely so far beyond rock bottom that it's just killing his numbers. Again, not saying he would have put up 100 this year, but for what they got rid of to get him, it's still addition by subtraction, in my opinion. And he'll be back next year, whether people like it or not. He brings too much to this team, and with proper finishing, he's going to put up numbers that are still going to be silly for a player his age.
I really thought that with the Swedish connection there, with Pettersson being a shutdown guy, and then Rickard Rakell, you have, 3 players off the Swedish national team connecting on a power play. I thought that would only be a plus, but Rakell had the regression season. He certainly wasn't helping out with Erik Karlsson's numbers. Super disappointing season altogether, but I think we're all on the same page here at the Skating Penguin Network podcast that we don't blame Erik Karlsson for the way things have gone. He's an incredible playmaker. He's he's a unique player. He was like Cale Makar before Cale Makar. Great. Yeah. So we'll have to see what the off season holds and what maybe next season holds. I hope he sticks around, Robbie, like you'd said. I think you get kind of a toss up online whether people are for or against him sticking around, but I think you got to give the guy another year and see how things go. You're not really moving that contract either, just, easily.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 9. This would be going to Garrett. It's from Tony Gale. Tony says here, if you visited the UK and went to watch some live sport, what would it be? And oh boy, I know exactly where this is going. Garrett says, absolutely. My choice would be a Manchester derby at the Etihad.
Yeah, you're right.
Etihad?
Yep.
Visiting England has been a bucket list item for me even before I started watching footy. So let's talk about this for a second. What's a Manchester derby and what is an Etihad?
The Etihad is the Manchester City Football Club stadium. Manchester Derby is a match between the two Manchester clubs, Manchester City and Manchester United. A derby is what it's called when it's two like inner city rivals play.
Why don't we call the Philadelphia versus Pittsburgh hockey game?
It could be the Pennsylvania Derby. It would be in England.
Print the shirts, Robbie.
Yeah.
The Keystone Derby.
Keystone Derby.
Yeah, we all know. What's the team that he likes?
Manchester City.
Manchester City. Are you a fan of them too?
I'm a fan of Manchester United.
Oh, so you guys are wow. Okay, so that's like interesting. If you were to go to England, Robbie, are you going to the same thing? Is that what you're trying to watch?
I would definitely love to see a European English football game. I've seen a European football game, but an English football game, I would love to. I'd love to see a top flight like rugby match too.
That's what I was thinking. Rugby.
I just think that would be just absolutely unhinged. I would definitely want that. Those are my two like top flight English rugby, like the good, like the best of the best, which England are a very good rugby nation, so it wouldn't be that out of the question, but that's another one for me just because it's a sport I've always wanted to. I always thought I could get really into if it was more popular in the States.
I hear you. Just not super popular out here. I know they play it. I know
they do. Absolutely. And like the United States has come pretty far in the world of international rugby, but and for like a sport that is so similar to football, you think it would catch on, but it just really never has. So it's kind of weird how rugby's never really caught on here.
Reese's Peanut Butter Cups are the greatest, but let me play devil's advocate here. Let's see. So, no, that's a good thing. That's definitely not a problem. Reese's, you did it. You stumped this charming devil.
Why take one vacation with the family when you could take all of them? With Royal Caribbean, you don't just go to the beach. You visit a private island and race down the tallest water slide in North America. You don't just go for a road trip. You ATV and zip line through the jungle. You don't just go somewhere new. You rappel down waterfalls and discover ancient temples. Because this isn't just any vacation. This is all the vacations. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
I'm Alex Rodriguez.
And I'm Jason Kelly.
From Bloomberg, this is The Deal. Each week, you'll hear us in conversation with business icons.
This show will explore deal-making across sports, media, and entertainment.
That is a harsh lesson in business.
Sports is not as simple as bringing a bunch of big names together.
I didn't want to do another stomp you out speech.
It opened up so many more doors.
The show is called The Deal.
Listen to The Deal.
Listen to The Deal on Spotify.
All right. Where are we at? Okay, question number 10.
Yep.
This is going back to Robbie. Brian asks Robbie, how good do you think Braden Jaromir Jagr is going to turn out to be? He's been fantastic for Moose Jaw this season, having a hell of a season out there.
I think he's going to be a top 6 player. Whether or not he remains a center, I think, is to be determined at the NHL level. But if not, I think he's going to be a very good winger. The shot is absolutely legit. There's nothing about the shot that has regressed in any way. If anything, it's gotten better. It's just absolutely lights out. We saw it and multiple times this year. It's a disgusting release. It's a Phil Kessel type release on the shot, maybe even a little bit better. So I'm definitely excited to see how that transfers to the pro game, because I think he can be a very good, productive top 6 NHL winger, especially to kind of help the Penguins bridge to the next gen of Penguins hockey here. Question 11, going back to Tony here. I heard you guys chatting about baseball stadiums last week. Tony says PNC Park is an amazing place, great views of the city. I've seen the Giants in San Francisco many moons ago as well, another cool stadium. What's the greatest stadium you've ever visited, regardless of the sport?
God, I haven't been to a ton of stadiums outside of Washington. So my list it's a very short list. Mine would be, I guess, does the Roman Coliseum count as a
I've been to the Coliseum and I'm going to count it. So
I mean, there's been some pretty historic matches that happened at that Coliseum, pre ESPN. So,
a little bit.
Yeah, Gary Thorne wasn't calling matches there. I don't know. I mean, Safeco Field, I wish I had more things to compare to. I've seen the outsides of some stadiums. Been to spring training in Peoria, watched a lot of baseball games down there, and those stadiums aren't anything to write home about. It's more of like a complex of stadiums. But if you love watching baseball, it's a fun. You can have a lot of fun there. I'll have to just say Climate Pledge, because I've been to a few hockey barns, no NHL ones, but Climate Pledge Arena, and from what I've heard that validates this statement, is that it's an amazing arena. So I'm kind of lame. I don't have much to compare it to, but I'll pass it over to you, Robbie. What are some? Have you been to many sporting events outside of the Keystone State?
So I've been to a decent amount of baseball parks. Camden Yards in Baltimore is a beautiful stadium. The old Yankee Stadium is just, from a history standpoint, was very cool experience. Again, if we're counting the Roman Coliseum, then I have to put that in there as well, because technically a sports arena, just very old. Who can forget the great Russell Crowe versus Joaquin Phoenix showdown? Where else? I've been to a basketball game at MSG. I've been to Fenway, not to see a game, but we did a tour. We were up in Boston, but the Red Sox were not home, so we did a tour of the stadium. That was cool as well. I got to put Mellon Arena on there. I mean, that place was, again, I talk it up so much, I gotta put it there as well. So a lot of fun stadiums. I'd love to go to more someday. I'd love to try like the Bell Center in Montreal. Detroit. They said Little Caesars Arena is actually an incredibly great place to watch hockey. And I'd love to get to Wrigley Field someday.
I got to see Wrigley someday. My buddy lives in Chicago, and he's really bought into Chicago like life. I think he's going to stick around there for quite a while after he finished college. And he talks about I got to go check it out sometime. I'd like to also see the where the Blackhawks play too. Chicago has a great sports culture.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Chicago, great sports. I heard they have great food too, so definitely place to check out.
Tony, you should. What's a stadium over there?
Yeah.
What's the famous stadium across the pond you guys all hype up and talk about?
Yeah, let us know. Absolutely.
All right. I think this one is for...
Oh, this is Garrett. I'll take this one. This one is a Garrett question, but it's from Brian. I'm on board with hopefully landing a top 10 pick. Do you think the plan should be to draft someone who can complement Jaeger on your future top line, or take the best available center, kind of like Sitter Gino? Garrett says, my draft philosophy has always been best player available at your pick. Don't worry about complimenting Jaeger just yet. The Penguins will need a fully stocked prospect cupboard to get out of their eventual rebuild. Definitely something I agree with, especially what I've kind of, since the Penguins are in this position now, I've kind of been delving into the draft stuff a little bit just to see where we might be or who we might be looking at if this first round pick would come to fruition. The top 10 is maybe not quite as deep as last year, but that's where you're going to find, it seems, a potential franchise foundation player. And what is available on the blue line in this draft is apparently just out of this world compared to the forward position. So if one of these blue liners is there to be the Letang replacement in 4 or 5 years, I'm all on board with that. But I'm also with Garrett to just take the best player available and fit him where he goes, and worry about the intricacies and the position picking a year or two down the road.
All right, question 13, going over to Robbie. This is an interesting question, and I guess we'll have to figure out how we answer this. But Brian asks, plainly and simply, Robbie, what's the weirdest thing you've brought home after a night out?
I saw this question. I'm like, I'm pretty good about like not being a klepto when I'm drinking. I guess the weirdest thing, I don't know. Like, maybe a glass. Nothing crazy that I can really come up with off the top of my head, to be honest. I'm just trying to like go through different, but I can't really think of anything weird, like a glass maybe, but that is what it is, I guess. I mean, I'm sure like that I'm one of millions that have done that. I can't say I think brought anything home completely strange though.
Besides maybe a strange woman.
No, not even that. No.
I got a little bit of a story for this. I've brought home, when I was younger, maybe in like high school, I'd come home with like a pylon, like from or a construction sign or something stupid. When you're walking home, you think it's funny to take that off the side of the road. It's actually not so much that I brought something home. I brought home an interesting opportunity and then went through with it the next morning. So I was out at a show. I went to a concert. I guess it wasn't really a concert. It's too small to be a concert. I was at I went to a show with my buddy, and we were having a great time. And I was definitely drinking, and this is in downtown Capitol Hill, Seattle. Are you familiar with Jackass, the show?
The show? Oh yeah, absolutely.
So are you familiar with Jason Acuna, better known as Wee Man?
Oh my God, yeah.
Okay, so one night we're out drinking, and I see Wee Man. I follow him. He's an awesome skateboarder. He's, Jackass is pretty synonymous with skateboarding culture as well. Wee Man posted that he's gonna be in Seattle. And he's looking to skate. He's an awesome skateboarder. If you didn't know that out there, he's an awesome skateboarder. He used to be pro for Dogtown, Toy Machine. Anyways, he posted he's coming to Seattle. He's looking to skate. He's like looking for park recommendation. And with that said, it wasn't a skate park, but my buddies and I at the time had permission to skate this high school. Their high school had an interesting parking lot that had a lot of features that were just curbs and concrete, but the way that they were built were super good for skateboarding. Very unique structures. And we had gotten the okay to kind of skate there on weekends, and we wouldn't get in trouble. We could wax up the curbs and do what we needed to do and hang out there all day. And Wee Man skates he likes to skate similar features as what we skate at this school. So I hit him up and I DM'd him. It's Wee Man. He has millions of followers. It was just shooting my shot in the dark. I sent him the address of this place, and sent him some pictures of it. And I said, hey, if you're near this place, I think you would really enjoy it. Why don't you go ahead and check it out if you can? I think it'd be awesome. And maybe take a photo or video so we could post it. We actually made an Instagram account for the school for people to hit us up and tag us at. The show goes on. My buddy and I end up meeting the lead singer of this band that we were drinking whiskey with him. We're out on the back deck hacking darts with him. And then I get up, my phone buzzes. It's like, 2:45 maybe in the morning, 2:30 in the morning. Wee Man messages me back and he says, meet me there at 7 a.m. And I was like, no way. I messaged him. I was like, dang, for real? Like, are you serious? And he was like, yeah, don't bring anyone and don't tell anybody that you're going to meet me there. And let's get it done early because I'd really like to skate the school. So I instantly get nervous. I got like scared. I didn't know if I should go through with it. I also 7 a.m., it's 2:30. I'm not even at my house yet. I haven't slept yet. And I'm wasted. My buddy that's with me stays the night at my house. We take an Uber home, and on our way back, I'm like, dude, do you want to skate with Wee Man tomorrow? And he was just like, he's like, what the hell are you talking about? And I'm just like, dude, I told him about our spot, and he said he wants to meet us at 7 a.m. And he was just like, let's do it. So I messaged Wee Man. I'm like, look, I'm at a concert with my buddy right now. We're coming home. And he's staying the night at my house. I got to bring him with, but we will respect your privacy. We won't tell anyone about it unless you say otherwise. And he was like, right on, I'll see you then. So the next morning, we go home. We sleep for 3 hours. We're just leaking alcohol out of our pores. We hop in my Volvo and we peel ourselves off the couches and down to this place. It's like 25 minutes away. Wee Man hops out of an Uber. We skate together for like the whole day. He gets in my Volvo. We go out for coffee and lunch, just us two. We take him to a skate park. We film each other for a while. We go back to that spot. Funny enough, a couple of our buddies were at that skate spot, and we did not tell them we were there or what was going on. They see Wee Man hop out of my car, walk by them, kind of just wave and say, hey guys, hop into his Uber and take off to his the reason he was in the area was his taco. He has a taco kind of like a Baja Taco type deal, a Taco Time type franchise called Chronic Tacos. He was opening one around Seattle, and he just hops in his Uber and he peels off, and my buddy was looking at us and he was just like, who the hell was that, Wee Man? And it was just like, yeah, dude, long story. Anyways, so I didn't bring anything home necessarily tangible, but I did go out drinking and then ended up spending the day with a movie star.
That's wild. I won't lie. That is wild.
Yeah, no, it was wild. I'll never forget that. We still DM every once in a while from time to time. He posted a video. He wouldn't put our names in the video for some reason, but he kind of gave us a little shout out. He follows me and my buddy on Instagram. He was an awesome dude. I just remember the one thing he was in our car with us and we were going to get coffee and lunch, and he's riding shotgun in my car and he's just like, you guys stink.
Oh,
and we were just like, oh my God. Yeah, we were drinking until like 3 a.m. last night. And he's like, oh, no wonder. You guys are losers. Like, he was so funny, so rude. It was an awesome experience. So I figured that was a good story to tell for this question.
That is pretty good. You didn't take something home, but you got a pretty darn good story out of it.
Totally. I'll take a story over a tangible object any day. All right, we'll move on here.
Question 14, getting close to the end here from Brian. Has Snow ever had goop on his burger before? From what I've read, it's a staple in the Pacific Northwest.
So are you familiar with goop, Robbie?
No.
It's tartar sauce.
Oh, okay.
It's just essentially tartar sauce.
Okay. Now, I'm not a real tartar sauce fan, so
I guess okay. I'll Google it quickly here just to I want to, but I swear to God, it's just yeah, it's mayonnaise, sour cream, sweet relish, and mustard.
That's basically tartar sauce.
It's pretty much tartar sauce. Yeah. It's kind of like a whiter Big Mac sauce or something,
with probably a little tang to it.
A little tang.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like something I'd want to put on a burger.
You don't really put it on burgers. You know what you do is you dip fries in it, or you you dip fish and chips in it.
Okay.
So yeah, it's I mean, tartar sauce. There's a lot of seafood out here, a lot of fish and chips, a lot of little spots, places you get oyster bars, oyster shacks. It's pretty popular out here. I think one thing that you also see with that goop sauce or whatever is they add like horseradish to it too, so it's got a little bit more of a zing, a little bite to it. But Not totally for me, but of course I've had it, and you would have as well. It's essentially a tartar sauce or a mac sauce without the paprika or something.
Yeah.
All right, last question. Our last question of part 1, and it's coming from our good friend Tony Gale. What's your favorite Penguins jersey all time? And Garrett responds here with he loves the crispiness of the current Penguins away jerseys. Always have, always will. And we'll roundtable this. I think we've gotten quite a few jersey questions before about favorites. And I always go with the, early 2000s Robo Penguin, Mario Lemieux, Jaromir Jagr, the black with the white armpit and a lot more actual gold on there. And then the Robo Penguin crest. And I also am kind of fond of the, I call it like the Rangers logo. It's where it's got the Penguins lettering diagonal across the chest. They had a white one, and I think they were a black one from time to time. I think that's a great looking hockey jersey.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely the current color scheme. I am a big fan of the 08 Winter Classic, the baby blue with the circled crest with the
Sid concussion jersey.
No. The Buffalo outdoor snow globe, baby blue ones are definitely up there for me.
A lot of good Penguins jerseys.
Yeah, a lot of good Penguins jerseys.
What's your favorite, Tony? Let us know. Send us a picture of what jersey would you purchase, or what are you rocking out there across the pond?
All right, that is 15 questions up, 15 questions down for part 1 of this week's mailbag. As always, we'll be back later in the week with part 2, along with some game recaps as well. So that's all I got. Snell, you can wrap us up and bring us home for this evening's episode.
Quickly, we'll go over just the Penguins' next game. I believe that they are in. Nope, they're back. Are they back home or?
They're home on Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday and Thursday. I think they're home.
This app doesn't show who's at home. The NHL app still sucks.
It's awful. It's a terrible app.
Dude, there's probably some nerd out there who could make a better app in like an afternoon than what the NHL has put into our phones with this. But Jake Gensel, are we getting a tribute video?
I think so. Yeah, I think you have to, because you never know what could happen this summer, but I think you have to. Especially if you want to re-sign him, you got to be like, hey, we still love you.
In the tribute video, there's just like a really quick snippet of Dubas, and you can't tell what he says, but if you slow-mo it or play it backwards, he's like offering Jake like a 9x9.5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. There's going to be fans in there. Blink twice if you're coming back.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see how that game goes. The Carolina Hurricanes seem to always have their way with the Penguins. There's still a chance for this team to make the playoffs, man. If they, they got a point against Colorado. I'm not jacking for Macklin by any means, and I won't be at all. Even if they do start losing, I will not be partaking in such behavior.
No.
Let's hope for a dub. Let's show Jake what he's missing over here now with the acquisition of Bunting and Jack St. Ivany on the back end, future stalwart on the blue line. That's all I got, Rob. Let's get out of here.
We'll talk to you guys later this week.
I got to say what Garrett always says. For Robbie Noggle,
yeah.
I am Snail. We will smell y'all later.